All right, guys, happy Saturday. Man, can't believe we are two-thirds of the way through the month of September. It almost feels like a pipe dream. Either that or I'm just like, enjoying life way too fast right now. Thank you guys for tuning in, by the way. This is your spot for your weekend fix of coins that sold on eBay that you guys need to know about. Maybe I need to know about a few of these too. There was one particular listing that I'm excited to share that I found one of long time ago on this Jefferson nickel, and I haven't found one since. But that's mostly a case of like not paying attention and kind of forgetting that this one even existed. But it's a Mintmark variety that on a bunch of other dates that also feature the same Mintmark anomaly, they are pricey. I forgot how much they're actually worth. So we're going to talk about that here today, along with some of the other coins, errors, varieties, things like that have popped up that folks like you and I are selling on the platform. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Just glad to be able to wake up this morning and have the ability to do a pocket change market report with you fine folks. And here we are. I think we're kind of like in fall mode right now. But tomorrow's the first day of fall? I don't know. September 21st, right? Usually. So we're going to jump in here, keeping also in mind that everything that we talk about in this video is raw, ungraded. That's important for you guys to understand if you're looking to turn this into kind of like a side hustle where you're searching for these coins and then reselling them. Sometimes the power play is not to grade them at all. Grading doesn't guarantee nothing. No extra premiums, no happy kind of like, warm feeling in your pit of your stomach. At the end of the day, you're just really throwing money into something that won't change the outcome one bit. So that's important to know. Before we jump in, quick little shout out to channel sponsor Whatnot. Boy, I'm loving this platform more and more each and every single week. They are fantastic. I have the ability to sell some of my beautiful collection to you guys. And you have the ability and the chance to join us in one of these great community gatherings. If not for buying things, so maybe you could get and participate in some of the giveaways that we do. And we give away great stuff, by the way. Come check us out. We actually have a Friday or a Saturday show tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. So if you wanted to check that out, we will be on live with a little bit shorter show. It's going to be about an hour long. But I'm happy to be around and to chat with you guys in our community. Even if you're not buying, it's always good to interact with folks who are enjoying this hobby as much as I am today. You can certainly use the QR code. If you sign up under me, you get 1,500 pennies off your very first item. That also equates to $15, by the way. And it could be under me, one of the other great streamers on the platform. It could be on coins, currency, bullion, comic books, tennis shoes, you name it. Whatever we sell on the platform, that $15 is good for that. We also have the links down below in the description box, and we'll also pin it to the comment section of this video if that is your flavor. You don't want to fumble around with the QR code. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in. This is a rather quick list. We did one of these shows on Thursday, so we have about, I would say, 30 hours worth of data, and these are some of the best of the best. It's a little bit shorter list, so, it should be a little bit shorter of a program for you guys. 1920D Buffalo Nickel. Okay, don't get me wrong. This is a rather tough date. All right, as much as some of the later teens, 1920s branch mint coins. When I mean branch mint, not so much the Philadelphia coins that have no mint mark on the reverse, but the Denver and San Francisco coins are a lot tougher during this particular era. Quality is just not there. A lot of these were considered quote-unquote workhorse coins, so they circulated quite frequently. This one is on the list, though. If you look at the obverse of the coin with the Indian, you could see a little bit of what they call a delamination. I think the seller said strike through, which it could be as well. But you can see right at the forehead area of that Indian, a little delamination there. And they called it a headband delamination or strike through to help associate it with something meaningful, which is fine. It actually worked out here pretty well for good old Bubba Sully, which, by the way, is one of the long-term sellers on the platform, has done well over the years. This one ended up selling for $29.77 with 7 bids totaled on that one. Not the best pictures and not the best coin either, but, this is a nice little catch, as opposed to it ending up in a tip jar or in a piggy bank at home. This one actually has a nice little cud right by the date. You can see it even covers up the T and Y and Liberty there. Not the greatest. I mean, it's used and abused, as they were intended to be used for. Obviously it's got some crap on the reverse there, some grease, gunk, some gummy stuff. So, I mean, this is obviously a fresh pull right out of a handful of change, and it does have a cud die break right on there. This one right here was a buy now with best offer. So the original ask was $53. I have no way of pulling what the actual sold price was for these coins. I usually use 130 point, but they've been down for a little while. So maybe you guys have other areas where you could research these to identify how much they sold for. But $53 was the original asking price, and it did sell. Great one here, 1968D Lincoln Memorial Cent. Nice off-center struck out of collar error. A little bit tougher date, but we've seen 68Ds on the program before. But this one is in phenomenal shape. Boy, this thing is really pretty. Lots of mint red. No carbon spotting too, which is quite strange considering that a lot of the earlier dates, 50s, 60s, 70s, off-center struck coins, they have always that one errant little black carbon spot on there. This one is pretty much clean, immaculate. This one's off-center, if I had to guess, 65%. It features a full date and Mintmark, which is important to collectors of this type of mint error. And this one ended up selling for $54.89. Pretty good sale there. All right, man, I would love to find me one of these. 1921S Morgan dollar. Pretty common, pretty much across a lot of different grades for the most part. This is a coin that normally we would purchase and just add to our silver stack. Not thinking that there would be anything meaningful to look for, considering that one of the big red herrings of the coin is it's beat up. It's got a bunch of scratches on the reverse. And some would say that, based off of that merit alone or demerit, that, we would just not think anything else of it as far as what you can find. So, we would chuck something like this just in the scrap melt bin of our, collection. However, this is a pretty good catch on the seller. You'll identify and notice that the coin looks like it struck a little bit off center. Very little. And it's not, all right? But what we do have here is what they call a partial tilted collar strike, as evidence here on the edge. Normally where you have the reeds on there, you can tell that part of it has been struck. So the collar was malfunctioned at this point, where it only struck a little bit of the reading, and then as you can tell, the rest of it's very smooth. This will give the false appearance of a off-center strike as well. So this one right here, surprisingly, turning this coin that otherwise would be worth about $32 in today's prices, this one ended up selling for $299.99. If that isn't proof positive that, taking the extra moment to double check, even, we go to a coin shop, we buy a couple bucks face and 90% silver, it's always worth taking a close look just to make sure that we're not overlooking something that could make us even more money, especially if we're trying to build our brand on eBay, selling more cool stuff that people will enjoy. This is one of them right here. So we did cover a few of these. These have been popping up more and more here recently. And the Wilma Mankiller Routine Cut Die Break coins Man, these things were awesome. I've never personally owned, either variant of this. I'd love to one day. They're just, they're pricey. If I had to make a comparison on whether I should buy one of these or some type coins or graded coins, I'd probably go the graded coin route. Although, as far as a means to an end, you can look for something like this, hunting through change, sell it, and it could do you a whole world of good with that couple $100 that you make off of these. That there are more meaningful things that you can buy in lieu of selling this one. So this one right here is Variant A. I like to call it Variant A. It's got that large retained cut die break right on top of Washington's head on this one. And this one also has kind of like an earlier die state crack on the reverse, which would end up being a large retained cut in itself. You can see it go through the word America and then through the star. So it's a nice little crack starting to form here on this one. And then, there's like the nose booger, little die chips and stuff like that. These dies were pretty messed up when they were striking these. So Variant A sold here for $194.99. And then we also had this one here. Another one from a seller that we covered a few days ago. This is the full-blown later state reverse cud die break, to help kind of match up with the obverse cud die break that you see there. This is the much more desirable, much more expensive version of the two because it's double-sided mid-error type. This one sold for $289.80, and they also had the sideways view so you could see how badly that retained cud is, popping off the surface of the coin in relief. I believe this person had a few of these available, and they just used the same images for the reverse on this one here. One of my favorite varieties to look for, mostly in part because it's easy. 1936 S Buffalo Nickel. Don't let the San Francisco Mintmark fool you. This is actually a very common date of Buffalo Nickel. 36, 37 are a couple of dates that, whether they're PD and S, they exist in pretty good numbers out there today. This one right here is one of my favorite varieties. It's easy to look for. A lot of people overlook these, and they carry a good fair amount of value with them. So when we look at the Mintmark here, and by the way, the coin is a nice kind of like lower end VF, like a VF 20, 25. This one has a really strong repunched Mintmark that is south of the primary. You can actually see the extra curl and serif of that first S that they had punched into the working die there. This is also FS501, letting you guys know that it is a marquee cherry picker's guide variety, which is huge. Usually coins that are attributed in the cherry picker's guide will have a whole lot more of desirability in today's market. So this one right here sold for $44.95. Pretty good considering that this particular date right here can be bought in kind of like a bulky kind of selection for about $1. So you could really do some damage here. Hunting through large bulk groups of Buffalo Nickels is one of my favorite things to do because there's a lot of varieties, not to mention other doubled dies, those two feather buffaloes, the missing F initial right under the date on some of them too are all attributed through the Cherry Picker's Guide program. So we also cover currency. Here's our 1969C $10 bill here. Pretty nice, dramatic, shifted, or misaligned overprint on this one. So the sheet wasn't plumb, on the stack before the overprint was applied on this one. And you can see it's shifted all the way to the right there to where it's overlapping some of the original base design elements on this one. And the note has circulated to some extent. So there were a lot of people that didn't pay attention to this one. And that's unfortunate because this one is a very, very pricey error note. It ended up selling for $271.99 with 27 bids. Pretty good one there. I think this is one that was sold by Ronald, who is a pretty big seller in paper money, both on the fancy serial number side, but also on the paper money error side as well. Pretty nice off-center strike here with a really deep cupped off-center portion. 1978 Philly Washington quarter. Struck off-center by about, I don't know, was that 15-20% there? But it's got a really nice cupping to it as well. Very dramatic. This one sold for $79.50. Probably a really nice premier example for a date set. 1972, of course, this date is rife with all sorts of doubled die varieties. Here's a big one here, too. This is the FS 103 doubled die obverse on a very, very nice, fully mint red specimen here. It looks to be probably like a mid-state 64 example. The best doubling is in the motto on this one. So, in God we trust. And I like the way that all the pictures were batched together to showcase, the best parts of this coin. You can see the doubling on In God We Trust there at the bottom. They even, typed in the FS 103 designation. So this one sold for $49.99. Pretty good one there. Here's a nice Broadstruck as well. If a coin is not struck off-center and there is a collar malfunction, more than likely it'd be a Broadstrike. All right, so this one is a nice hammered centered version. And the collar was non-existent during this process. It's like sticking your thumb into a ball of Play-Doh. It's used to be a certain diameter. You stick your finger in it, it's, gotten a lot larger. And that's pretty much what we have here, comparison-wise. So 1999 is a common date for Jefferson nickel off-centers and broad strikes. But the way of how centered this one is truly, truly a masterpiece. This one, by the way, is selling for $71.35 with 4 bids. This one was a relist by the seller, 1944 Lincoln Wheat Cent, with a pretty long, snaky-looking strike-through on there. That is indeed a strike-through, and it's not a well-placed hit, because if that were the case, depending on, just how strong this one is, the reverse would show the bend quite well. This one does not have it. So it could be a piece of wire or something, some sort of debris that was on the die before it struck this one. Very impressive. It sold for $25. It's not, the greatest condition piece, but, it's quite large. We don't see strike throughs that look like that. Here's another variant of the 1972 Lincoln Cent doubled dies. This one is the FS 102. This one is quite impressive. If you didn't find a FS 101, which is the big one in terms of visual eye appeal, this one right here would be a close second. All right, this one has some pretty nice, phenomenal doubling. We'll see this here in a moment. Quick little look at the coin, and again, it's another BU red example. It's the best way to collect these if you are into it. There's a close look at some of the more meaningful devices to show the doubling. The strongest is on the motto, In God We Trust, but you could also see some of that doubling even in the date. Some notching, some splitting going on there, and then of course Liberty LIB is the strongest, and the letter E, I guess. $144.20 is what this one sold for. Pretty nice one there. And this one sold, by the way, from one of the big resellers of Lincoln Cent varieties. I think it's TLC varieties, if I'm not mistaken. Always a good one here. Keep in mind, these still exist, and they're not worth nothing. All right, they still have some value. 2021P Washington crossing the Delaware reverse design. Keep in mind, this is a 1-year shot design. All right, I think that's what makes it very cool. Avid hunters of this coin back in the day were greeted with a pretty nice surprise. A large formation die chip right on top of Washington's hat was the one big find from this. After a while, people called it, crown die chip. They just called it a large die chip, various things like that. And some of them would have like little feeder finger kind of scrapes in the fields there. That's what the other red arrows are on this image. So this one right here, $49.95 was the sale on that guy there. So if you have these, keep in mind, they have still a rather decent amount of premium on them if you need to sell a few of these to help fund Christmas this year. Another piece of currency, 1974 $1 bill. Front of the note looks normal, but me personally, I don't see anything that catches my eye on this one here. But let's take a look at the reverse, because I'm willing to bet there's something crazy on this one. And sure enough, there is. It looks to be almost a full front-to-back wet ink transfer is what we have here. So this is leftover ink that was on the impression cylinder. The impression cylinder and the plates probably made contact at one point without a sheet there. So the plates will transfer its image to the impression cylinder where the sheets normally lay on. All right, so that's how you get this transfer to the other side of the note. And it's probably affected a number of notes on the sheet. So it's not full. I mean, it's missing the lower left corner there. This one here sold for $400, but I believe a best offer was accepted on this one. All right. 1983P Jefferson Nickel. This is a cut die break that we're familiar. We call this one the Twin Peaks because that's exactly what it looks like on the top of Jefferson's head, upside down, of course. Yeah, the Twin Peaks cut die break. Yeah, this is not particularly scarce. People have found quite a few of these, and we normally see these a few times a month. This one here is selling for $53. And here's a one that I forgot even existed. When I look through 1941 S Jefferson Nickels, I look primarily for the large Mintmark variety types for this one. But this is a much more meaningful Mintmark variety that you guys need to be on the lookout for. And I totally forgot that this one was even on the map, up until this one sold. And I'm like, holy smokes, I forgot that this one even existed. And the coin's in nice shape, by the way. It doesn't have full steps or anything like that, but it is a nice, pleasing BU coin. This is the inverted Mintmark variety. And how you can tell on this one is the serif at the top. That kind of forms like a triangle at the end of the curl of that S. The large serif part of the S is supposed to be at the bottom. All right, yeah. So this one looks a little wonky, and it's a beautiful one. Not particularly easy to find either, but when you do, it's such a hot find. Inverted Mintmark varieties, whether it's the 46S Lincoln cent, let's see, the 28S Standing Liberty quarter also has an inverted Mintmark variety. There's a couple of Washington quarters. I believe there's a 41S inverted Mintmark variety as well. These are all very, very high premium Mintmark variety types, beating out a lot of like RPMs and maybe even a few over Mintmarks as well, which is kind of blasphemous to say because those are usually the gold standard of Mintmark varieties. So this one right here is the FS503. All right, so that's another Cherry Picker's Guide variety. This one, by the way, ended up selling for $124.95. God forbid you find one of these with fully struck steps. You send it off to a grading company. It's probably the only time that I'll lobby to send a variety off to like a PCGS. Because if it had full struck steps and you get this thing graded and it comes back FS, doesn't matter what grade level it is, could be a 64, 66, full stepper. The full stepper is going to make this one an insanely expensive coin, especially in an auction setting. And the final coin of the day is this 1989 Lincoln Memorial Cent. All right, it's got the nice large cut die break over the word trust, but it also has a couple scratches, one pretty long one that goes across the front of the coin there. Cuds are king. Don't need to explain it too much further than that. This one is not the most highest premium type, but it's pretty cool nonetheless. How about $75 on this one? Which is, it's a maddening amount of money. I've seen other ones sell for about half of that, $35-40 for the same type. I'm not a stranger to this particular cut, die, break. I've seen it a few times, and we've covered it a few times on our program before. That's going to go ahead and wrap it up. Nice, quick, and easy. Quicker by about 10 minutes. So that's an extra added bonus for you guys. Information in this video is for educational use only, not financial advice. Please keep that in mind. Collect and or grade your coins responsibly. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Thank you guys again for all of your views and support. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy today's content. And always keep us in mind. If you're looking for information on your coins, we would be more than happy to kind of check things out. Come check us out on Whatnot later this evening. That should be a lot of fun. It'll be great to see some new faces on there. And sign up. We got the links down below and in the comment section of this video. Hope to see you soon. Have a great weekend and keep on collecting, my friends.